Hi, Autry. My name's Anita Foster. I'm the Library Media Specialist at Autry Middle School in Kennesaw, Georgia. And today, let's talk books. However, in today's Let's Talk Books, we're not talking books. We're talking something else. Because sometimes our reading isn't just from books. Sometimes we also need to read using news articles, which is what we're going to be doing today. So you can learn a lot by reading other items and not just books. I know Miss Foster loves her books, but we also need to be educated on topics. And so today we're going to look at NewsELA, and we're going to read an article from there. We're going to figure out what the main idea is, and we're also going to find out what the supporting ideas are. Okay, so I'm at NewsELA. I went to Cobb Digital Library and I opened up NewsELA, and we're going to look at this article, What Do the Kids Say? Students Sound Off on School During Pandemic. So this article was written, so I want to make sure that it is timely. It was written on August 18th, 2020, so that was in the last month. And we do know that it is timely because of the topic of the article is something that we're dealing with right now. All right, so I'm going to scroll down, and it says, parents have weighed in on reopening schools. Teachers have weighed in. Public health experts too. So have cities, states, and President Donald Trump. But what about the kids themselves? As the grown-ups fret, kindergartners to high schoolers faced with a range of scenarios for virtual and in-person classes are expressing both fear and glee over leaving home to learn. Many said they're most worried about fellow students breaking the rules on wearing masks and keeping their distance, especially in areas that are hot spots for coronavirus. I'm going to scroll up. We'll be home in a month, said skeptical Peter, I'm going to mess up his name, but we're going to go on with it, Klamka, an 8th grader in Las Vegas, in a county that's logged 95% of new coronavirus cases reported in Nevada the week of August 3rd. The 13-year-old will return to his private school in about 3 weeks from August 11th. Some kids will be more responsible than others. I'm not looking forward to it, but I've got to go to school, so I'd rather be there in person, Peter said. Not yet 5-year-old kindergartner Riverton Hall in Westport, Connecticut, will begin her first big kid year in September, at least in part on Zoom after finishing preschool at home. I'm going to scroll again. I'd rather go to school because it has more toys and it's more fun, she said. Anxious parents around the country are looking to schools that have already opened for signs of how it might go. One is North Paulding High School in suburban Atlanta, Georgia. It rescinded a 5-day suspension for a student who shared photos and video of crowded hallways and few students in masks after doors opened in August. The school has since suffered an outbreak of COVID-19, along with other schools hard hit in Georgia. Nearly 50 miles away in Alpharetta, Georgia, 10-year-old Collier Evans will attend school remotely. He begins 5th grade August 17th. He could have gone in person full-time or picked a blended option, but said he was anxious about returning to school. And there's a picture of him and a caption that says, 10-year-old Collier Evans of Alpharetta, Georgia, decided to attend school remotely when he began 5th grade on August 17th, 2020. He said he was anxious about returning to the physical school. My parents and me, we said we don't want to go in a classroom, get sick, and then I'd bring it home and get my family sick, Collier said. As for distance learning, he said, I hope it's going to go better than last year. You had to wait in a queue for like 30 minutes to ask the teacher a question. In Tucson, Arizona, 10-year-old Simon, I'm going to mess this name up too, Jobud Pulitzer, returned to his private school August 3rd. He was happy to see his friends again and have face-to-face access to his teachers. Did he feel safe? Not the first day, but after, yes, I felt a bit safer, Simon said. All kids were following the rules. Those rules include masks worn indoors, socially distanced desks, and only 2 kids per outdoor picnic table at either end for lunch. Most American parents said it was unsafe to send their children back to school. More than 80% favor school conducted at least partly online, according to a new Washington Post Scholar School survey conducted by Ipsos. But many expressed displeasure at the quality of online instruction. As summer winds down and the mixed feelings mirror the lack of consensus around the country on how to balance virus risks and schooling. Some Scandinavian countries with far fewer cases than in the U.S. reopened schools with new safety protocols and have had no outbreaks connected to their operations. In Israel, schools that reopened when virus activity was low ended up shutting down a few weeks later when cases spiked. In the U.S., some school districts plan a mix of in-person classes and online learning to help maintain social distancing. Other districts, including those in Miami, Florida, Houston, Texas, and Los Angeles, California, are starting classes online only. Ella Springer, 14 years old, of Kenosha, Wisconsin, will start her sophomore year of high school at home. Her school board rescinded an in-class option to open the fall semester. That could change as the year progresses. At first, I was wanting to go back to school in person, but I feel like watching the numbers in Wisconsin, it makes more sense to go back virtual because it's rising, she said. It's pretty boring at home, but what can you do? Last year, the virtual was easier for me to slack off at home because it was a loose kind of thing. But I feel like this year will go a lot better since they've had the whole summer to prepare. Aiden Anderson, 11 years old in Orlando, Florida, will begin 6th grade at home for 2 weeks, then happily head out to school in a state that's among the nation's worst hotspots for the virus. I don't like that there's 2 weeks online, he said. At home, it's so easy to get distracted. In Littleton, Colorado, 8-year-old Will Asbury is going into 3rd grade. School starts August 24th, and he'll be there in person. There was a distance learning option, but Will and his little sister, Luca, wanted to go. I'm going to feel good because I get to see my friends. Masks are a bummer, but at least we get to play with our friends during recess and see them at lunch, she said. Of distance learning, 6-year-old Luca got right to the point. I didn't like it. She's hoping for a unicorn mask to wear when she returns to the classroom. Alec Bloomberg is a high school freshman and his sister Amelia a high school senior in Great Neck, New York. Their school, for now, decided on full-time, at-home learning to start in September. There's a possibility for a staggered approach in person later on. This would allow half the students at a time. I really want to go back. It would be nice to interact with people and have a more separate life at school and home, Alex said. But if the school lays out a plan, will the kids follow it? I'm really not sure. Amelia, 17 years old, said exactly how responsible students will be is what worries her the most, based on what she's seen among peers. Some people aren't as careful as others, she said. They aren't following any type of safety measures, which really scares me. But I really want to go back. It's the last year. We didn't even get to say goodbye to any of our teachers when we left last year. Maria Beck is a 7th grader in Indianapolis, Indiana. School for her started July 30th. The 12-year-old is attending online full-time. At first, her school district was going to offer some in-person instruction, then it changed its mind. There's been a recent uptick in COVID cases in her area. I'm a big extrovert, Maria said, of missing face-to-face school, but so far it's been going very well. I do hope we get to go back someday. Her 3rd grade sister, 8-year-old Felicity, said she too is okay with distance learning. among the things she misses the most about real school lunch. I'd be scared that I'd get sick, she said, of returning to school, but I'd be really happy that I'd be able to go back. All right, so that was our article. When we talk about main idea, here's something that we need to think about. We need to consider it as a stool. So our stool, the seat that we sit on, is the main idea, but the supporting ideas are very important underneath, because without those supporting ideas, when somebody goes to sit on the stool of the main idea, it all falls apart. So when we think about the story that we just read, the article that we just read on NewsELA, our main idea was returning to school. Our supporting ideas were the concerns and fears of the students, the parents, the teachers, whether to return to school virtually, returning to school face-to-face, and the safety protocols that are going into place. All right, Audrey, so when you look and think about a main idea, whether it's for social studies, science, ELA, or if you're reading a book and you're trying to figure out that main idea, think about the stool. You have to have those supporting ideas underneath it, and then you'll find out what your main idea is. All right, Audrey, I hope you learned something today.